Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dark Souls. Apparently, I'm now the Unreal Tournament announcer right here, but apparently that guy's pretty good at the Dragonlight Castle, so let's do it. Finish Dragonlight Castle, move on to the next area, one of the hardest areas of the game in my opinion. But I mean, then again, we don't have to worry about that just yet, now do we? Instead, we first of all have to worry about letting you guys know something. I once again was very unhappy with my English during this recording, so this is once again going to be another post commentary. I don't know what is up with me lately. Just picture my English as some sort of sine wave right now. See, there's points where I'm really freaking rocking at it, where I'm really proud of myself, and then there's points in my English where I'm really not happy with myself whatsoever and just have poop coming out of my mouth for the most part. So let's do another post commentary right here, just because I didn't feel like that whole commentary track was good enough for my standards. So yeah, here we go. This is what you get. Hopefully you still enjoy it. But anyway, you might notice already that I did actually lose some souls before starting the recording. I did already go ahead and enter this room and then died to not only these guys that we're approaching right now, but also then going back, I died to the stone dudes that we were fighting a little bit earlier. So I did end up losing like 40,000 souls in the end, though. Of course, it's not going to be too big of an issue. You can very easily just get more souls by killing bosses and stuff like that, and same with Dark Souls 1. Souls aren't the most important thing. Like, leveling up your character is not more important than getting the right equipment and upgrading that stuff. So it's okay to lose souls every once in a while, and it's certainly something we don't necessarily have to worry about right now. Instead, let's focus on what we're doing right here. So this is a pretty fucked up situation. This is probably the closest Dark Souls 2 gets to the Anne Orlando archers, because there's 4 Elan captains in New Game Plus. There's actually 6 of them, 3 on each side. But right now, 4 Elan archer dudes, or Elan captains is, I believe they're actually called. And it's pretty tough to take care of all of them. And I find the best way of dealing with it is actually just luring one back here, because then the other guys can't attack you. But, I mean, with that being said, as you can see, these guys still attack like crazy and inflict a lot of damage. They're much harder to fight here in the Dragonlight Castle, just because there's no lava around like there is in the Iron Keep, and you can't like knock him down into the lava in just a matter of a few seconds. Instead, you have to fully kill him, and that is pretty easy with the lightning spears, but with melee, not so much, because these guys, they don't give a shit about your shield, they don't give a shit about being staggered and stuff like that. Either backstab him or use like miracles or pyromancies against him. That is something I would probably recommend. And then while this is not a mimic, as you can see, it is still a fucking trap chest, and you want to avoid those as much as possible. Should be some arrows inside if I remember correctly though. Yeah, fire great arrow. Great arrows only used with great bows, so not really too important for my character right now, but certainly some of you might be interested in that, and also some of you might be interested in the upcoming chest right here on the other side, because this is going to be Firestorm, I believe, one pretty freaking powerful pyromancy. So if you're a pyromancer, certainly want to check out this chest. But anyway, I mean that's basically this room already. There's now going to be like another Mastodon guard and also 2 more of those Cyan Knight dudes down here. And while my past self takes care of them, why don't we go over what I want to achieve here in this episode? Or, just I mean, since I'm now looking back at this, what I have achieved or will achieve in this episode. Gonna finish Dragonlight Castle, of course. There's another boss coming up pretty soon that we want to take care of. And then already get down to the next area and not start with that, though. What I'd like to do after finishing the boss is finally, frickin' finally, upgrade my Black Steel Katana to a Lightning Black Steel Katana. It's not so much upgrading as it is like infusing it with lightning, I guess, but it's something that I've been looking forward to for quite a while now. It should really give us some additional damage just because we have like 30 or something like that points into Faith. And of course Faith gives you additional lightning damage. Lightning damage then influences the katana once it's infused with a bolt stone. So that's pretty good. But now having taken care of all of these, there will be another elephant person outside here. These are pretty easy to take care of, honestly, though. I mean, if you have lightning spears still, that is probably the like absolute easiest way of dealing with them, at least with this character right here. But also in melee, they're like not a big deal whatsoever. They're really slow. They do inflict a lot of damage when they hit you, but I mean, they first of all have to hit you, and that doesn't happen too often with these guys, especially if there's only one and no rats like there would be in the Doors of Pharaohs, or not like freaking archers somewhere in the distance like there would be in the beginning staircase leading up to the Drangleic Castle. So right here, probably the easiest one to fight. And we'll also pick up some leggings, which look pretty freaking hideous in my opinion. I mean, the whole set itself probably looks pretty cool, but them individually, like I would usually put them on, no good. They just look way out of proportion. But anyway, the reason why we came here, the reason why we now spent like 6 minutes dealing with all optional stuff, is that we can here pick up another Estus Flask shard, and that of course is amazing. It will now allow us to get up to, I believe, 11 Estus Flask shards. That's how you pronounce that. And that of course is pretty neat. I mean, 12 is, I believe, the maximum that you can get, so we're really close to that. I was nowhere near like 11 Estus Flasks when I first played through this game, so having all of that is going to be super nice, and also very much going to help in like all the upcoming boss fights. It's going to be a joy, believe you me. But anyway, speaking of which, this door in front of us is going to allow us to get to the next boss, but of course we can't open it yet. And that is the exact reason why I'm now riding this elevator up, because inside an upcoming room, up at the very top of Drangleic Castle, there will be a key for us. And also I guess there's some other stuff in that room as well, but we can't really properly finish that just yet. We'll have to come back at a later point and only then finish that whole section up there. But I don't know, I really like what they did here in the Drangleic Castle for the most part. I like how you're very like slowly ascending upwards. It really reminds you of, for example, the final boss of Demon Souls. You also sit in that elevator for like a minute or two and ride it up all the way up to the very tip of a castle. And I mean, while there's nothing freaking amazing going on up here, not by any stretch, it's just a small room and like a lady trapped inside some cage, and strapped to the cage is like a weird hollowed person, I guess, with like a lock for his head or something like that. It's pretty weird, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're going to be doing too much up here. It's mostly just interacting with a few objects, picking up some items, and then riding right back down, because now we have the key. The King's Passage is, I believe, how that's called. Key to the King's Passage or something like that. And we can now open the door that I was talking about and get to the next boss fight. And keep in mind, that is another boss fight that we're going to summon Benhart for. We talked to him earlier. He's now going to be available for us once we actually reverse hollowing again. And then, of course, the big issue is getting him through the boss fight. Because, of course, as I was already saying earlier, you have to have them survive, which is not really something I'm fond of. And I believe I've also stated that before. But I don't really see why a phantom of a person would have to survive in a boss fight that you can optionally summon them for in order to make their story progress. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to finish either Benhart or also Lucatiel. And that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It kind of sucks, because oftentimes you are then more worried about other characters than yourself in a boss fight, and I don't think that should really be happening, because I oftentimes found myself quitting out of the game in order to then reset the boss fight and be able to do that again. Try it again, try to make that NPC survive. And yeah, I really misjudged this situation right here, by the way, because they attack like crazy, which is something I didn't quite remember. And you can actually also kill them as they're still like setting up, and then it only takes like 2 hits, or maybe depending on the weapon, only 1. But this is probably the worst situation to be in, just having a bunch of them attack you like that, because they do combos like crazy, and that is just the worst. It really is. But luckily you can just step back right here, and I believe they're not gonna follow you as much and split up a little bit. Some of them are gonna lose aggro, other ones you can just then take care of right here in this hallway. So if you are caught in a situation like I was just then, probably just step back a few meters or feet or whatever your preferred method of describing all of that is, and make your life a lot easier. And of course, our big friend, the lightning spears, still just freaking fantastic. They just are. Right, now one last guy here, another one of those knights, and pretty easy to take care of yet again, especially when they're on their own. But even, as I was already saying earlier, in pairs of 2, not a big deal whatsoever. And also remember that whole like beginning section that we were in, where we first of all had to kill the Macedon and then 2 of the knights. In a lot of situations they're going to behave very similar to that right there, because only one would always aggro, because I mean their mission right there, their objective is to protect that door, and they will very, very much stick to that. One guy is still going to keep standing in front of that door while you keep dealing with the one, and that makes it really easy. Like, these guys are not of issue most of the time at the very least. But anyway, we've taken care of all of these things now. Benhart is going to be a summon to the left here, and then of course that fog gate takes us to the next boss. And it's maybe a boss that you already know, for at least for those of you, of course, that have not played the game previously. This is at least for those guys still something that they should still maybe recall if they've watched previous like preview material for the game. You might remember this guy who was called by a different name, but he's still around. The Looking Glass Knight, or previously Mirror Knight, I believe is what they called him. And yeah, I don't know. What can we say about this dude? He's usually not that difficult. I'm gonna be honest here. He's not as big of a deal as you might expect him to be. For the most part, he's just your standard, I have a shield, I have a sword. Circle strafe around me, and then do damage that way. But what kind of sets him apart are 2 things. First of all, his shield is a big pain in the ass. You are gonna get like staggered or whatever you want to call it once you hit it, so it's not even gonna inflict any damage. And also, don't quote me on the whole staggering part. It's just very ineffective. His shield is super huge. You don't want to hit that, basically. You don't want to hit that whatsoever. And the other thing is, so the second thing, as I was already getting ahead of myself right there, is that using his shield, he can summon somebody to help him out. Most of the time it's just going to be NPCs, at least for me it's been like that so far. But yeah, that's exactly also what he's doing right here. But he supposedly can also summon players, so similar to, for example, a old monk boss fight in Demon Souls. An actual online player can fight you here for this boss fight. So right now though, this probably is just another NPC. You can most of the time tell that very easily just because they're a little stupid. I mean, I was really easily able to take care of this guy right now. But yeah, as I was saying, not the most difficult one. He has some cool gimmicks. Shouldn't be too big of a deal though, especially if you have such a high amount of Estus. The biggest problem with this fight is when you want to get Benhart through. Because of course there's no real means of protecting Benhart. The only way would be aggroing the guy yourself and just hoping that he's not going to hit Benhart too much in the process. But that's difficult, and I also ended up dying here because I was really trying to get his aggro and like prevent him from hitting Benhart instead. So I ended up dying here. It sucks a little bit, I guess, but also, I mean, looking back at it, probably a good thing that it happened because Benhart probably would have died, and I can now go back to that and focus a little bit more on keeping the aggro, keeping Benhart from getting hit, and just having a better time in that fight. So if we now go back to him, get Benhart through it, that of course then would be the second time that we had Benhart help in a fight. And that means there will only be one more that we need to get him through, and then we're able to finish his whole quest line. So that's pretty exciting. Let's now switch out some rings right here. I believe I went for a soul protection one just so that if I ended up dying again, I wouldn't have to like go back to get my souls. So that's pretty good. I always like using some of those once it gets a little tricky in boss fights. There's a lot of people that actually constantly use them. Like I know a friend of mine, at the very least, he always has one equipped, which I mean makes a lot of sense. It helps you out so much. But still, I don't know. I never really liked doing things that way because I mean in the end what that means is you will never really turn hollow and you will never lose your souls, right? As long as you have one of those rings equipped. That whole risk, not a risk. And you can then of course always go back and repair those rings. They're not going to break permanently like they would in Dark Souls 1. So it's kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't really enjoy calling it an exploit, but it's as close as it can get to an exploit without being an exploit, I would say. So it's just something I don't really feel too amazing about doing myself, but it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, it's a very valid strategy, and it's only going to help you out doing things that way. And just sometimes I like to do it myself as well. So very similar to what I'm doing right here. Now, of course, we're going to have to take care of all of these bitches again. Have reduced it to only this knight right now, though. So that should now be a freaking walk in the park. Let's just backstab him a little bit and then move on. Summon Benhart again, try that whole thing again. And right now, of course, what is going through my head right here is, how am I gonna increase my odds? How am I gonna change how I enter that fight so that I am more likely to win? And the easiest thing, of course, would be just applying some gold pine resin, not Rhine peasant, because of course that just gives you more damage. I believe he's not very resistant against lightning, while you might think so. I mean, in the end he does use some lightning attacks, but I don't think he's too resistant against it. And that is exactly what I'm going to be doing right here, using some gold pine resin. The other option, of course, would be upgrading to a lightning black steel katana or whatever, lightning, not even lightning katana, upgrading to whatever black steel katana, there we go, because I mean any of those is going to add damage to you. I believe he's pretty vulnerable against fire, which is a little weird because of course also in that arena it's raining, and I don't know how that makes sense. But I do remember some pyromancer helping me out in the fight once, and he was freaking tearing him a new one. Like, he was just constantly chucking fireballs and great chaos fireballs, or whatever they call them, and like firestorms at them, or at him, because I don't even think he managed to summon one guy during that fight. So that was really crazy. And let's now apply some gold pine resin and do it in a more traditional way, I guess, but also a way that just allows for a lot more damage. As you can see, I'm doing way more, like 100 more points of damage, and that is fantastic. What's not so fantastic though is, as you can see, Benhart is taking a beating right now. I mean, it took a while in that first attempt to get him down to where he already is right here, and that sucks a great deal. So what I'm now going to have to do is really focus on, as I was saying earlier, keeping that aggro up, just having the Looking Glass Knight focus on myself, not so much on Benhart, keep my stamina up, keep my health up, and do things that way. It's just always, I don't know. I was already stating that earlier. I don't like how they do this, right? I don't like how they make you get the summons through the fight. I mean, in the end, it does make for a really interesting time in the fight in the end. I mean, there's an additional challenge there. Only if you succeed with that extra challenge, you then are allowed to finish their quest lines. And that's cool and all, but at the same time, it's in my opinion, not really where the focus should be during the fight. The focus should be with you, keeping yourself alive, and not this escort thing. Escort things are just never fun, right? Especially if the AI isn't working too well. So, as you can see, also, Benhart is now really low on health. So I just decided to go ahead, two-hand the fucker, and just try to get in as much damage as possible. Also, there you were able to see me bounce off the shield and stuff like that. Luckily, he stayed alive there with just a sliver of health. And I actually then also ended up beating the Looking Glass Knight, which is crazy lucky. Makes me very happy though, because of course now we have taken care of 2 Benhart fights, only 1 remaining, and that is coming up pretty soon as well. So we will probably be able to finish his quest line. At least if I were to take a guess right here, probably gonna finish his quest line. So anyway, now coming up we have one of the most difficult areas in Dark Souls 2, if not the most difficult. I had a pretty hard time going through it myself when I first did it. A lot of people find the upcoming boss really easy. I didn't though, so that is probably the boss I died to the most. And that should already kind of tell you how I feel about the upcoming area in general. It's pretty neat. I will give it that. It does change things up a little. And I like that, because it's not your standard Dark Souls gameplay that you're going to be getting involved in down there. But at the same time, that really throws a lot of people off, including myself. I was having a hard time going through it. At the same time, though, that's something we will only do next time. Not really going to get started with it just yet. We're going to open up like the first bonfire, or light it, is what I should probably say. And then, as I was saying in the beginning already, take care of the lightning black seal katana. And for that, of course, we need a bolt stone. And for the bolt stone, we are going to need a token of fidelity, because the guy after that whole like cathedral boss fight against Onstein, quote unquote, he actually sells bolt stones. And in order to be able to talk to him, you need a token of fidelity. So that's how we're going to do it. Get the token, get the bolt stone, go to Macduff, upgrade it, be happy. And that is something we're immediately going to take care of after resting at this bonfire. And also, I believe I'm still going to like walk a few feet and take a look at what we're going to be dealing with next time. Oh, I very quickly then decided against that, it seems. Or am I really? I don't even know what I was up to right here. But yeah, this is basically the Shrine of Amana. A lot of people will have heard about how effed up this is. And also, at the same time, a lot of people have been here themselves and probably experienced for themselves how fucked up this place actually is. I don't even know. I'm really excited for the next episode, though, just because it's such a challenge. Like, this is quite a challenge, believe you me. Okay. But, as I was saying, we need a token of fidelity if we want the Lightning Black Seal Katana. And that is something you can find once offline. There's only one location in the game where you can find it offline. The other way of getting a token of fidelity is using one of those blue, what are they called again? Blue cracked eye orbs, and doing an invasion and winning that. Then you will be granted a token of fidelity. But you can also find one offline, and that's very much here in the Huntsman's Copse, by doing some very risky platforming. In the end, though, it's not too much platforming, I guess, because you're not going to be rolling off anything, you're not going to be jumping off anything. What you want to be doing here is just straight up walking off. Otherwise, you're probably going to overshoot or just not get far enough. So if you just walk off like I did, or yeah, as a matter of fact, actually sprint off the edge, not just walk off, sprint off the edge. Then you will be able to land where you want to be landing. And there you just, of course, saw me pick up that token of fidelity. But there's also another like extra area right here. I don't think it's too important, to be completely honest. And there's also more of these like moth thingies that will poison you pretty quickly. So be careful in here. But there's like another item at this like back wall, and then also I believe on the bottom in some water, in some chest or something like that. So while that is certainly not too important, it's something you can take care of once you committed to that whole jump that we did like a minute ago. So I believe there's another moth that I'm gonna take care of before I jump down, because those can actually be a lot of trouble. I mean, just jump down, there's gonna be another enemy there, and if you then get poisoned, that's effed up, because chances are you're gonna die, because I don't think he's gonna let you heal yourself. So take care of those two guys, and then use those mushrooms on the side before you then like kill yourself falling off or something like that. And there's one more of these, I believe, jailer dudes. I believe that's what they're called, jailers. Anyway, so we now have the token of fidelity. We are gonna go to the Cathedral of Blue. That is very easy to do because there's like freaking 500 bonfires in the Tower of Flame area. At least it feels like that, just because there's so many. You don't have to worry about anything in that area once you have successfully gotten all the bonfires. Then you can just warp from place to place and never have to fight a single monster. So that's pretty neat. Also, I should note that there's a secret wall right here leading back to like the first indoor section that you're going to be running into in the Huntsman's Copse, where you can also break like the boards on the windows and let the light in. Not going to really commit to that right now though, because in the end what I want to do here is get the upgrade for my weapon and not dick around too much in the Huntsman's Copse. So teleport to Cathedral of Blue, talk to the Targray dude, and it's quite funny actually. In the initial audio recording for this video, I wasn't able to remember his name. I called him like Tar Pit, Targaryen, which I don't know. It was just funny to me how I wasn't able to remember it. Then again, I've never really been too involved with the Blue Sentinels anyway, so maybe there's a good excuse for me right there. But Targray is totally what it is. He sells an infinite amount of Boltstone, I believe. It's pretty expensive though. It's like 7,000 or something like that. So yeah, bring that if you go talk to him. If you want to get some Boltstone, certainly bring those 7,000 souls. In the end, you shouldn't really have a hard time acquiring that amount of souls there. Right, go up here, take a right, talk to the dude. He's now gonna be all friendly. You might remember, like previously, he was, "Do not talk to me. You are not worthy of talking to me. Go, leave. I'm Targray. I am standing here, infinitely looking into the distance, like I'm very important." And I mean, in the end, he's probably somewhat important, being like a head of a covenant. But bitch, we got business to take care of, so shut up. We will join your stupid covenant just because, I mean, in the end, we weren't really doing all that much with the heirs of the sun anyway. So I might as well now go ahead and do this. And also, I wasn't really too sure if he would only sell to me once I'm a member of his covenant. So that was just basically me making sure that I would get the Boltstone. And then, of course, as soon as I entered the shop, I had to realize, for whatever reason, as you can see by the held one down at the, like, somewhat bottom, I guess, I already had one. And I have no idea where I got that one from. So I don't know, if you guys ever notice me picking up a Boltstone in, like, previous episodes, by all means let me know where that happened, because I couldn't tell you. I mean, for the past like 3 episodes I was complaining that I didn't have one and just so badly wanted one. And now I'm standing here, finally having done all this work and finally able to buy bolt stones. I then have to realize that I already was carrying one. So I don't know. I don't know where I got it from. As I was saying, if you noticed me picking up one in like previous episodes, please let me know where that was, because that is probably going to help me out in the long run. I won't have to always do this whole side mission before I then get my hands on some. Then again, of course, it's probably good that I showed it off to you guys. Now you know how that whole thing works, the whole covenant and the whole like boltstone acquisition. So that's pretty neat. Now, of course, also that he moved over, you can open up that chest, talk to him, and upgrade your weapon that way. Just hit infuse and then do that. And funnily enough, they kind of changed upgrading and the way it works in Dark Souls 2. It's a lot simpler because now you don't have to like individually upgrade upgraded weapons, right? You don't have to turn your katana into a +6, then make it lightning, and then make it like a +5 lightning using some twinkling titanite or stuff like that. Here you can just get it up to +10 and then apply lightning to it, which is really nice. And I mean, I'm not too 100% like psyched about it, to be honest. I mean, I kind of liked how clumsy it was in Dark Souls 1, because it was a challenge. Like, it was a proper challenge getting all the smiths and getting all their embers and stuff like that. Here it's very, very streamlined. And I mean, it's cool that you can just then like very casually swap around like that, but at the same time, of course, takes away some challenge from the game, and that's never really too good, in my opinion at least. So yeah, we're now gonna go back to Majula because I did pick up that Estus shard in the beginning. So let's do that, and also very much note that there is a trophy that you can unlock, or like an achievement if you're on Xbox, I guess, or in Steam, that you can unlock by just talking to the blacksmith, to Macduff right here. Just exhaust his dialogue, you will get a trophy. It's pretty easy. He will also give you, I believe, his hammer or something like that. But that's something you can very easily miss, and something that I just wanted to note right here, because I missed it the first time around. I now very recently only got it, so yeah, do that. Return to Emerald Herald. She's now going to talk about how you can now go to the castle. Well, guess what, bitch? I went there, and also I want to apologize for that bitch, because in the end you were quite nice, if we're being honest here. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We did a few things. Finished Dranglike Castle, opened up our way to the Shrine of Amana, the area we're going to be doing next. Also defeated the Looking Glass Knight, got our Lightning Black Seal Katana +10. And is there anything else that we did? I guess we also unlocked that whole like Covenant stuff there, and yeah, I don't know. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next time, and then as I was saying, Shrine of Amana is what we're going to be doing. Have a good one, you guys. Goodbye.